calling this meeting to order. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And accept the agenda.
Second.
So moved.
Because we have Mr. Vignani remote, we need to do roll call votes this evening. So Mr. Vignani,
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich,
Yes.
Ms. Curran,
Yes.
Ms. Pond.
Yes.
Thank you.
So just so folks know, our current chair, Tony Vignani, is going to be participating via Zoom, and also Karen Canfield will not be able to join us tonight. First, I'd like to read our DEI statement. The Scituate Select Board is committed to providing an environment of respect during meetings. We ask all members to interact in a polite manner, even when there is disagreement. We value the participation of our community and want all participants, including marginalized and minoritized communities, to feel welcome and respected. We ask our committee members and all who participate to commit to these standards to support and respect our community. So with that, I wonder if there's any walk-ins from anyone. Seeing none, we will proceed to the report of the town administrator.
Evening. The water department report does not include what's going on now, because from last week, so we know the water that we're getting now. The reservoir was at 55 inches, minus 55. Last week, we were at minus 49.75. Tac Factory Pond remained at minus 11 for the week. Average daily demand was 1.167 million gallons per day, which was down from last week's 1.187 million gallons per day. The Commonwealth continues to rate us as a significant drought. We do have water restrictions in place. The manganese measured at the water treatment plant is still causing discolored water through the system. The good news is the cooler temperatures at night are seeing a reduction in the amount of manganese that we're getting. Manganese samples have been below actual levels set by DEP for both August and September. Distribution samples for September range from 0.007 to 0.054 milligrams per liter. If you remember, 0.3 milligrams per liter is the reportable number. So those are significantly lower from that one hit we had in August. We'll continue to work with our consultants in DEP to come up with a temporary issue to help with the groundwater for next summer. But as we all know, the long-term fix is a new water treatment plant. We will begin working on the final design and getting into that right after the top meeting. Rainfall at the plant was 1/10 of an inch, and Celco will be finishing up on Foxwell Lane this week. We don't have any paving scheduled for this week, which is good because it was all done and rained out. But we are working with the contractor. We will have our paving done fully into the paving season. So we're working to make sure the contractor gets in and does that. The work on the Minor Beach Stairs is ongoing. Just to remind people that is a one-way street on Glades Road from Gannon to Bailey's Causeway during that construction. There are construction vehicles in the way, so please be careful. The bus routes are fine, they go that way also. I think the big news that I have tonight, again, weather dependent, the schedule for the removal of the lantern room on the lighthouse is now set for Thursday. They'll be out there tomorrow doing the preliminary work, getting ready. Thursday morning about 7 o'clock, the crane will get there. They'll have to do some work to get that ready, and then the lantern room will be lifted off. It will be placed in the yard of the lighthouse keeper's house. They keep it in there inside the yard, so it's away from people. It's what we consider a private area. People were concerned about vandalism while maybe getting a kid if we put it out on the outside, so it'll be on the inside there. It should be done by about noontime if all goes well, and then they'll spend the rest of the day and Friday doing some maintenance work, cleaning it up and sealing with tops or whatever they're gonna use the hole that's gonna be in the top of the tower. So that's exciting. The design work for the repair or replacement of that lantern room is still ongoing. Once the design's finished, we have high expensive design group to do it. Once the design's done, we'll go out to bid, but the work is all supposed to be done, and the light back on by spring, early summer of next year. That's the plan. We have notified the Coast Guard that the light's off. It is a private aid to navigation. It is not the navigation beacon. We have notified them. They'll notice it on the chart updates. That's undergoing, and we sent out a notice. We put it on our Facebook page so people should know. So when they go out there on Friday, the top of the lighthouse will most likely be off and missing. But that's going to be a long-term project, and hopefully we'll get that done and get it going. Situate Police Department is hosting a blood drive to remember and honor those fighting cancer on Saturday, October 15th, 2022, from 8 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Blood drive will take place at the Public Safety Complex at 800 Chief Justice Cushman Highway, inside parking lot. Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, Brigham and Women's Hospital Bloodmobile will be on site. Appointments are recommended, but they will take walk-ins if they have time. Information for registering is available on our website, on the police department website. So we ask people to sign up in advance and please give blood. And finally, as we've been saying, winter is coming. We are desperately short of plow drivers, so if you just plowing for the town, please get in touch with the DPW so we get to sign out and ready for the bad weather. That's what I have today.
That's great, thank you. Any questions, Town Administrator?
I do. Last night at the Community Preservation Committee meeting, the question came up about the lighthouse, the beacon, the lantern room. If it has to be completely replaced, we're not just gonna throw it out, right? I gave the opinion that the Historical Society is very good at saving things, even if it means swirling it away somewhere for use at a later date, but that we would never just throw it away.
It's not the plan to just throw it away. I'm not sure what we do with it.
Right.
But right now, it's not a plan.
It won't be done at the transfer station, right?
No, that copper's worth a lot of money. I think we
Yeah.
could probably do something with it, but we'll reuse what we can reuse out of the glass and things like that, but we'd actually talked about incorporating into the Pier 44 park if we had it. The
Right.
question would be, how much work would it need to make it so you can do that? I don't know. But until they get it down and really can get a good look at it, to have an idea of what's going on, they looked at it up, why it's up, and they're gonna get it down on the ground and really go through it, they'll have a determination whether we can save it in terms of reusing it on the lighthouse. We're almost past the point where we think that's an option, we're pretty sure it's gonna have to be a brand new lantern room. And then once we get past that, then what can we use the old lantern room for, and what kind of shape it in, and how much, if anything, it would cost to make it safe. But you definitely have to do some work, and I'm sure the glazing around the glass is from the 1950s, so that might have asbestos in it, that has to be taken out before you can use it. And any other hazardous materials, once you start touching that part, that would be taken care of.
Well, so for everyone out there, we're using extreme care in this, on this project, so, thank you.
Good question.
I do it. Have we considered doing a career fair at all for all the plow drivers or any of their own positions? Would that be something that might bring folks in if we were more of like an open, come on through and?
I mean, I think we kind of think what we're doing right now is reaching out to everybody we know that's a contractor that has trucks to plow, to see if they're interested. A lot of these not doing. And most of the bigger plows go to the state because the state is paid by the government. That's all we can talk about.
We could reach out to schools also, needing both tech. The problem is for the CDL license, it requires some experience as well as, I think up to 10 to 12 weeks worth of schooling now with the new rules and regulations that are in effect for that license. So before we used to be able to train guys in-house and get them licenses for the bigger trucks, and that's becoming more difficult because there's the state set up in the program.
Tony, any questions or?
None for me.
All right, we'll move on. First, since this is my first time chairing, I will ask for patience from my colleagues and take the step by step, and hopefully we won't miss a step. So next on the agenda, we have an outdoor entertainment permit for the fall for Scituate. We've got Jean, Jack, good morning. We've got Jean,
Please nobody ever pronounces poor Jean's name right.
Jack and Andrea, right? I think so.
Sounds good.
Close enough.
I'm sorry, Jean.
That's all right. If I had a dime for every time it was mispronounced.
All right, Jean, tell us what we're trying to do here.
So we are getting ready for our 10th annual Fall for Scituate event in North Scituate. We are going to have tractor hay rides, a chowder fest, food trucks. We'll have the WSU band will be there. We'll have artisans and crafters, baby animal petting zoo. And we're going to have a bunny wedding this year. Let's see, we'll have the kid zone, which will be an all enclosed area for the kids to just do all sorts of games, and that'll be hosted by, well, not hosted by, but it'll be all high school sports teams. All those kids will be involved in running games for everyone. Yeah, we'll have food trucks, and it's going to be a great day.
Excellent, and this is for October 23rd, correct?
Sunday from noon to 4.
Excellent.
I got the abutters list, and that's going out to the abutters. The notification will go out probably tomorrow. So that everybody knows what's going on. And I've already met with the police department about you know, what they'll be doing, what we need, their needs, and that sort of thing.
Great. Questions?
I have a question. Jean, when you met with the police, did they talk about at all Lincoln Mordecai? Some of the residents up there have been in communication with us quite a bit in the past couple of weeks over different issues out there. And I think they want to ensure that some additional precautions are made so traffic's not going up through that area. So I didn't know if you had a discussion with the police at all about how traffic would be handled.
I did not talk to them about that, but I can be in touch with them tomorrow and discuss it with them.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
No,
No questions?
except for the bunny wedding, I'm fine.
We'll get to the money wedding.
So, Mr. Chair, just to update you, so because this is a repeat event, as Jean said, the 10th anniversary, it doesn't have to go before you to be approved with the event. So the only thing before you tonight is the outdoor entertainment room.
Perfect. Tony?
Yeah, just Gene, great event. Love it, brought my kids there for years. The crossing of the street tends to be a little bit of a hazard sometimes. And I just I didn't know what space you're actually using. Usually it's the parking lot and the playground. Are you on the other side of the street as well?
We are. The only other thing that'll be off that site will be at Wilder Brothers. That's where the loading and the unloading of the hayride will be. This year, we're actually going to have 3 officers, whereas last year we only had 2. So they're going to be able to be spread out a little bit more.
Yeah, so the 2 crossings at Mary Lou's News and then over on the other side of the street. And then the train schedule, I assume you've got that under control.
Yep. Yep, we're all set with that. And Board 143, they are doing an event there as well today. So there will be more foot traffic coming across there. And the police department is aware of that as well.
Okay. So Jim, I just asked you to get good input from them because there will be a lot of back and forth and the train ones on the weekends and we don't want any accidents.
Yep.
Great. Looking forward to seeing you there.
It's gonna be fun. I can't wait. Who doesn't love a bunny wedding?
Gee, it's gonna be fabulous. My kids always come home with like 7 apple cider donuts and all this different candy. They love it.
But watch out for bunnies.
And now we'll watch how many bunnies we come home with. Do we have a motion?
Yes, I get to say her name. I'm gonna try it, Jean. Move to grant an outdoor entertainment permit to Jean D. Jacomandera, didn't do it, on behalf of the North Scituate Merchants for a DJ from 12 to 4 p.m. and the WSU Bluegrass Band from 2:30 to 4 at the Fall for Scituate event held at North Scituate T parking lot on October 23rd, 2022.
Second.
Now we need a roll call, is that correct?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Vignani,
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich,
Yes.
Ms. Curran,
Yes.
Ms. Conlon.
Yes.
Okay.
Happy fall.
Unanimous.
All right, thank you so much.
Well said.
Great, thank you so much.
See you on
Hope
the
we see-
23rd.
Hope we see you all there. Thanks.
Yes, for the happy bunny nuptials.
Good night.
Good night, Jean.
Right, next on the agenda, we have the dispatch agreement with Bob Clark, HR Director. I am stumbling over all my words.
See, it's not as easy as it looks, right?
No, it's not.
Good evening. How are you? So, we've been negotiating for a successor collective bargaining agreement with the communications specialist slash dispatches. So we have a tentative agreement. It's been presented to the membership, so there's 8 dispatches and I've heard that they've ratified it, so I'm here today to ask for your approval and the MOA. So the MOA is a 2-year contract for FY '23 and FY '24. 2.5% increase for FY '23, 2.5% increase for FY '24. One of the things, another sort of economic sort of change we're gonna make is the top step on the wage scale is the 8th step requires 20 years of continuous service. We would agree to reduce that down to 15 years. Just, with the thought that we could reach a little bit earlier. It's the same thing that we've done for Tosca and AM, so we just sort of follow that same language. These positions, there's 3 shifts, so the overnight and the evening shift both receive a differential. And so we've agreed to increase the differential for each of those shifts by 1%. So for the overnight, it would go from 5 to 6%, evening would go from 4 to 5%. And that's just in keeping with what some other unions have as well. So those are the primary sort of economic components to it. It's the really first large extensive contract we've done with this group, so there was a lot of work that we had to do. We added Juneteenth and the holidays, we have language on working more than 16 hours. There's a few different articles that reference training for dispatches, so we've addressed some of those things, in addition to a lot of housekeeping changes. Some of the other changes that we have, we've extended the town's right to use dispatches in other emergencies. It could be, staffing emergency shelter in the winter. We have to have language in the contract to allow us to do that, right? So it's all voluntary. We wouldn't necessarily mandate that they do that. Obviously, we don't want to take dispatches away from that job, but it gives us the ability to assign them in other areas in cases of emergencies. We have restrictions now. If someone resigns, they have ability to use sick time at the end of their employment with us. That's something that we've been concerned about. We don't want someone to resign and then just bang out sick for the last 2 weeks, right? So we have a new uniform policy, which was important to us, and so they'll actually have a uniform with a black or blue polo shirt, fleece with an insignia, black pants, black footwear. So we're excited about that too, because we wanted to be able to work a more professional work environment. Another sort of important item for the town is this particular contract had something that's called a wage reopener, which means that if another union with the town agrees to negotiate a wage increase that's different than what we agreed with this group, then they have the right to reopen the table. And that's something we really didn't want to have. It just really sort of inhibits us when we do future negotiations. So the union agreed to remove that as well. And then the last big sort of piece was we spent a lot of time on creating a use of benefit time and notification procedure. So it's really how people take time off, how they request time off, how we do voluntary overtime, how we do mandatory overtime. And so there was really the need to sort of tighten up on some of those procedures. And so we spent a lot of time on that. It was an interesting group because there's only 8 dispatchers, but 3 of them were at the bargaining table. So it was a really productive group. It was, with Joan Caruso, who's the union rep from SEIU. They were great to work with. So we were really pleased to get that settlement. So overall, the impact of the entire contract for FY '23 is about $17,000 a year. For FY '24, it's $15,366 a year, so, and that's all, for the most part, is budgeted, we don't need budgeted for cost of living increases, so.
That's great. Thank you. We're up to some questions. Tony, yep.
Hey, Bob, two quick questions. What is the town's responsibility on the uniforms? Are we buying them, or are we providing them, or are we dry cleaning them, or what is the?
No, so we'll give them a stipend, and what we'll do is we'll create the insignia, and then we give, there's a place called Doughboy that most of them will probably get the uniforms from that company. We give the insignia to, the patch almost, to Doughboy, and then they can purchase, as long as it fits the sort of criteria that we've developed, they can purchase that anywhere, they bring it to Doughboy, and then they'll put that insignia on.
And what's the stipend for that?
So the stipend is, it's $300 a year, so it's $150 every 6 months. There's an initial upfront cost, so we're giving them, upon ratification, or if there's a new buyer, they'll get $400 just to be able to buy, like, all the clothing that they'll need. But after that, it's $150 every 6 months.
Okay. And then also this is the first time that I've heard that kind of rate increase matching or renegotiation opportunity.
Wage reopener?
Is that, I think I heard you right, that if another contract gets a higher cost of living increase, then this group can come back and renegotiate?
Right.
Is that new? I don't,
We're taking that out, Tony, that was in there.
oh, that's being removed. Okay.
Yeah. I
No more
understand the action that you had.
Okay. Thank you.
Just have one specific question. Thanks, Bob, for this, and thank you for your great negotiating skills. Who do they roll up to? Do they roll up to the chiefs collectively, or how's that?
Right, the deputy chiefs. Well, actually, there's a communications manager who's in the AMPS unit. And then that communications manager reports to the 2 deputy chiefs. There's actually also sort of steering committee that and I'm included in that as well. So we collectively kind of look to oversee the entire department.
And so that works well? Work well?
It does, yeah.
Okay.
So
Thank you for this.
the deputy chiefs would kind of handle the operational side, with Bob would handle the HR or administrative side.
And it just directly impacts both departments for like fire, so they it sets that both of them kind of move.
Glad it's negotiated. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, no, it's very, very thorough. I appreciate that. You seem very positive on it.
Yeah.
We clarified some of that, so we have a motion.
Motion to approve the collective bargaining memorandum of agreement for SEIU Local 888 Tosca Unit B, our communication specialist bargaining unit for the period of July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2024.
Second.
Now we need a roll call.
Mr. Vignani,
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich,
Yes.
Ms. Karen,
Yes.
Ms. Conley.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Right, moving right along. Next on the agenda, contract and surplus from our harbor master.
Good evening,
There we go.
how is everybody?
Great.
Great. So I'm here to discuss the contract. We went out to bid for the new Cole Parkway Marina Float Project, replacement project. We've got 2 bidders. And the GEI, the consultant, helped us with the selection or made the selection. And that was with ACK out of Quincy, Massachusetts, to do the project. This project will include the whole marina. So there were 2 items or 3 items on the contract. We're doing the southern side of the marina and the northern side of the marina. And we opted not to do the concrete float. We we're gonna stay with all wood floats. And the project is $2,066,000. We have $1 million in grants. We had our $200,000 match. And at town meeting, we got the additional funding. However, I did just submit for another grant for $750,000 to Scituate Economic Council. We're hoping to get it. There's no guarantee, but that is our hope. But we plan to have this marina up and operational May 1st next year, for the opening on May 15th. This will be a huge improvement to the marina. The fingers of today, which you tie your boat to, are very narrow, they're 2 feet wide, and they're all 98% of them are 20 feet long. They'll all go to the standard minimum width of 3 feet wide, and some there'll be like 6 or 7, there'll be 17, some 20s, a lot of 24s, 28s, and 30s. So we'll be able to accommodate bigger boats. There'll be people much more stable platform to walk out and to tie their boat off onto, and it'll greatly improve the marina and the facility.
So, this is the second phase of the rehab. We talked about this.
Phase 2 and we're calling the phase 3 as well. Just to monitor issues.
No, just to make sure we're all clear. Already received $1 million from the Seaport Economic Council,
Yes.
correct? And you just applied.
For another 750 for phase 3, which because of the cost overruns.
Questions?
Just timing on the 700, when we think the Seaport advisory would rule on that?
We had to submit by October 1st.
Oh, okay,
which
so
we
it's
did.
just in.
So it's just in. It's probably going to be sometime close towards the end of this year. They'll make their ones.
And that would just supplement, that would reduce our costs.
That would reduce the borrow that we would.
Perfect.
Yeah, just a question, do we rent out the slips on a yearly basis? So in other words, I think we're losing a couple of slips, is that
They're
right?
losing 3 slips
Because of the, and
because of the reconfiguration.
so nobody's being
No,
kicked off?
we're not kicking anyone out.
Okay.
Normally, on a normal non-COVID year, we have between 15 to 20 or so slips that are turned in. During COVID, last year, as everybody ran out and bought a boat,
Yeah,
we
now they're
actually,
selling them, right?
we had about 6 or 8 initially turned in, I think it came 12 total last year to turn in. So we don't plan on kicking anyone out. They did add 40-foot slips last year. I made those part of the new project on the other side.
Tony?
Hi, Steve. Couple quick questions. The $2.066 million, is that prior to the $1 million grant?
That's the total cost of the project. So it would be, our portion would be $1,066,000.
Great. So that's the gross and that.
Yeah.
And then I just want to reiterate to everyone that's watching that this is all paid by the enterprise fund. So this is all the boaters' fees that are paying for this, not any taxpayers' dollars. So great job, Steve, getting the grants, and it'll look great when it's done.
Thank you very much.
All set. Do we have a motion?
Sure. Move that the select board award the contract for the floats replacement to the Cole Parkway Marina to ACK Marine and General Contracting LLC of Quincy, Mass. for $2,066,000, base bid and alternate number 1.
Second,
Now we need a roll call vote.
Mr. Vignani,
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich,
Yes.
Ms. Curran,
Yes.
Ms. Conlon.
yes,
It's unanimous. Now we're discussing a surplus.
Surplus. In 2017, the Waterways Enterprise Fund purchased a 25 Brunswick Impact patrol boat. It was powered with 2 Yamaha 200 horsepower upwards. They have since come to end of life. They got approximately 3,000 hours on them. We run that boat. That's our primary patrol boat. It never cools down. So a year and a half ago, it was part of my capital project to replace the engines on that. Actually, we only had about 2,200 hours on it. Upwards are very difficult to come by. They finally came in, and we're in the process of repowering that boat. And since upwards are very difficult to come by on the used market, they're pretty valuable. So we want to get them right out there and get them to people that need them, want to pay money for them.
Seems simple enough. Any questions? Tony,
None for me.
any questions from the audience?
Anyone?
None. Yeah, it's be done.
Anybody need any help?
You know, all right,
Ready now?
get ready.
Ready?
Do we have a motion? Yes.
Move to declare an auction 2 surplus Yamaha 2017 engines from the Harbor Master Office.
Second.
Mrs. Conlon, Ms. Curran, if you have,
Mr. Vignani,
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich.
yes,
Ms. Curran.
Yes.
Ms. Conlon.
Yes.
it is unanimous. All right.
I want to thank you very much for your time. Have a great evening.
Great night.
Thanks, Steve.
We are Auctions International. Thank you.
Great.
We'll see you. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
All right,
Thank you, Jim.
next on the agenda, we have Bill and to discuss an emergency legal request for Blades Road water.
I hope it's okay if I read from this.
Yeah, you have to state their name and address for the record. I just,
That's okay, it's on the agenda.
it's on the agenda. Never mind, I'm sorry.
Well, thank you to the select board for allowing us to present our concerns about the water specification requirement number 20. I believe it's a 2-line requirement. Little background, my in-laws and my family had paid taxes and spent summers in Scituate for 63 years. In October of 2021, we established a budget, designed our retirement home, and hired Morse Engineering to present our plans to the ZBA. We were given unanimous approval for a raise and reconstruct of our family home on November of 2021. On March 15th of 2022, the DPW, Mr. Cafferty, made a presentation to the select board for the new water division specifications. Item 20 was not addressed. The board asked, have the building departments had a chance to look at this? And the response was not really. Everything outside the house is us. Any possible pushback from contractors? I don't think so. We're not making things hard. I don't think we're making things hard. So now May to July of 22, all utilities, including water, were disconnected, followed by approvals for conservation, board of health, historic commission, septic plan approval, demolition permit, and panels permit. August of 2022, the house was demolished, 20 filings were installed, a new septic system was installed, and then on August 18th of 2022, all 3 of our neighbors on a shared water line, this 4 total, were hand-delivered a letter. The water department is requiring a new home at 145R to renew their water service out to Blades Road with a 2-inch plastic water pipe. You are currently connected to a 1-inch copper line that was shared between the 4 homes. This is a private water line, so you will have the option of working with the contractor to upgrade your water service also, or stay on the old line. So we were the only ones being taken. We became aware of this letter only when the neighbor's renter asked what this was about. The next day, we went to the building inspector to ask what it was about. Mr. Vogel stated he had never heard of such a requirement. Mr. Duggan also had never heard of it and felt it was placing an undue burden on our project. It was also apparently it was in the comments section of the water department's sign off on our building permit, which we had not been issued at that point. Mr. Cafferty stopped by and stated maybe it's in the bylaws and suggested that we meet with Mr. Anderson. On September 12th of 2022, We met with Mr. Anderson and Mr. Cloud. We expressed concern that this requirement made no sense. It meant that potentially there could be 4 water lines, a gas line going down a 12-foot right of way, which is bordered by a leaching field, rendering 10 feet of it not usable. But yes, the 4 water lines was a possibility. When we asked Mr. Anderson what bylaw applied to this, he referenced March 15th, 22 new specifications, not any bylaws. In October of 2022, we met with Mr. Capital's request. He suggested we contact Kelco as he felt they would give us a reasonable quote as they were doing a lot of work for the town. We thanked him. He also suggested 4 more contractors, and we got a quote from our requested a quote from our contractor, bringing the total to 6. 2 of them, longtime contractors, refused to do the job if adding the additional spaghetti line to the already existing shared water line and gas line, stating that it was a huge liability. Our site contractor did give us a quote, but also had strong reservations and we should have the quote in there, put a whole section in of all the things he would not cover, all the liabilities. So then we would have to get additional insurance for this project. 1 has not responded, and 1 may give a quote later. The 2 quotes for a 2-inch water line, 220 feet, including multiple curb stops, not only 1 house, but multiple curb stops and T's. Quotes range from $13,300 to $18,900. This is an unbudgeted and unplanned significant expense 10 to 11 months into our project. To require us to comply with the vague ruling that was not written to address shared lines and not communicated to other departments who may be been able to inform us earlier, places an undue financial burden on us to complete our retirement of our home project. To require 1 family to establish a separate water line, while 3 other families are allowed to remain on the original line is not fair nor is it practical. To possibly recoup any of our investment may be years down the road, and that's if the neighbors opt in to join the pipe. And that's not guaranteed, and we could be setting ourselves up for costly legal battles with our neighbors. So we are proposing, we originally proposed the 1 solution of a waiver to this requirement for all the reasons above, and when the time comes that that 1-inch shared copper line must be replaced, all 4 neighbors who equally benefit from the shared line will then share equally in the full financial responsibility to replace it. The other option we came up with, if the town water department would like to take over the install of a 2-inch PE water line as a betterment, we will join the new line and pay 1/4 of the cost over a specified betterment period, possibly 10 to 20 years. We'll be happy to answer any questions.
I know, that is the gist of the statement and the gist of the saga that began for us last October, until August, I think it was 17th, actually. A letter was handed to 3 abutters, as Susan mentioned, saying that since your neighbors are required to put this new water line in, you can join in and call their contractor. Well, we don't have a contractor. We have a contractor to do our site work, and we pay him a lot of money. So that was the first time that we heard about it. We didn't hear about it in March, when it was presented to you folks. We didn't hear about it in April, May, June, July. We didn't hear about it at the health department. We didn't hear about it at conservation. We didn't hear about it at, where else did we go? We went everywhere for approvals. We only heard about it because a neighbor's renter happened to go, "Hey, Bill, what's this?" And I said, "I don't know, what is this?" So we, as Susan said, we went to see Bob Vogel the next day, which was Friday. He said, I've never heard of this requirement. And Bob knows this stuff, as I think you guys know. And then Neil Duggan, who was the former building inspector, was there, and he came out and said, "I've never heard of this requirement either." And he volunteered that this sounds like an undue burden on you folks. We said, "Yeah, I think we agree with that."
Before a year from DPW and our town administrator. Before that, any questions before I turn it over? Tony, anything or?
No, after Kevin.
Thank you. So the water division specifications were updated. I talked to Sean Anderson today and asked if this was a new regulation requiring houses to renew this service when the time came. He said no, but we updated the specifications on the location. Since he's been here, any house that has been a demolition has been a replacement to the main. We've also had the same with sewer. I think we had somebody in here a couple of years ago about the sewer concern because they had to replace it to the main. It was a recently paved street. And they also had to pay the $5,000 for the new asphalt. So according to Sean, it's always been in the specifications. It's something that we've typically required. It's also something that the gas company does. If you have a demolition of a house, they make you replace the gas service typically back to the main and set that up. I was told by our guys that they did tell people out there, they told contractors, if the contractor came in at one point, it might have been passed on to the owners. I'm not sure how that worked out. But the house, unfortunately, is set pretty far back. Typically, when you do this, it is after the meter. So their meter is in their house. We've got a large section of no man's land. Nobody owns the pipe. Nobody wants to make repairs to it. So what we typically do on a demolition job is make somebody replace it all the way back to the main. So at least we know there's no leaks and it's not gonna come for our water. So that's what the water department is going after and looking at. Anything else I can address or?
Yeah, a question, does this have something to do, is this a private way?
Yes.
Is this a private way?
It's not a private way, it's a right of, they have an easement and a right of way, but there's no private road back there, there's easement.
So I left some pictures up there of what it looks like. It's more of a driveway, but we don't even have an easement to go in there and do the work if need be. We had a similar issue, I think it came before the board a while back, up in North Scituate, where we had a couple of houses that had a private service that ran off at different locations. Right now, I believe the line that feeds the Murphy's house is a 1-inch copper line, an older copper line, and it feeds 4 houses. So there probably isn't a whole lot of water pressure or quantity that goes out there. So the thought was when we spoke to Mike Cloud suggested doing a 2-inch plastic, which these regulations, the big thing we did in these regulations was allowing the plastic services to be added, which saves money because instead of spending, $21 a foot for copper, you're down to $2 a foot for the plastic. So it was a money saving issue. But Mike Cloud said originally do a 2-inch to the house, and then he went back and said if the neighbors aren't willing to tie in, you could do a 1-inch service for yourself. The original costs, I was told at that time, were $90,000 to $100,000. So I reached out to Celto at that time and asked them if they could take a look at it and give a better price. And they pay their guys prevailing wage, and they were around, do they around $12,000 or Celto?
Oh, Tony, well, he's got several different proposals, because we don't have any of the 3 neighbors expressing interest in joining us and helping them pay, but there's one that's expressed, I would say, moderate interest. So I asked Tony to give us one who would stop at our house, and then one who would stop at, and they happen to be the end of the line. It might possible, but.
Right to the right of your house is a looking at it?
If you were facing the marsh, there to the right. Yeah, if you were facing the ocean to the left. But just to address the 90 to 100,000, that was my number because I'm not a contractor. We're just, two people who are trying to build their retirement home, their forever home, but it came actually from our contractor, who is Steve Tebow of Meridian. The guy that was managing the site, Brendan Smith, he said, well, if there's a house right here that you can't see, that's Bob Jones, our other neighbor. He had to replace just his line from his curb stop, his personal curb stop, into his house, which is 30 feet, maybe 40. He had to replace that last November. And that cost him, he's shown it to me and we know who did work, $12,000. So when Brendan, who does this work for Meridian, said,
Public offer, yeah.
I don't know what kind of pipe, but he paid $12,000 for about 30 feet. And then Brendan, who does this work every day, says to me, oh, well, that's 12,000 then. Up here's gotta be 70, 80, 90,000, like, okay? My head is already exploding enough, now it's exploding off the charts. So yeah, the amount of money is less than that off the top of somebody's head. However, it's still as much as, I think Tony's is about $17,000 that we didn't budget for. And we weren't told about it in, again, March or April or May or June. So, you know, I don't know.
Well,
We're at your mercy because you are the commissioners of water, right? That's why we came.
I will cut to the chase here. Who should have known this? The contractor? The builder they hired? Don't these people have to know what all rules and regulations
Well,
are?
from what I read from the Murphys, it was on the comment for the building permit. So the builder would have seen that when he got the building permit.
He hadn't gotten the building permit at that point, wasn't
So that's Bob Vogel looked at the building permit and said, oh, there it is. So he hadn't seen it, yet it's in his office. In
And
his,
somebody put it there. Somebody wrote it down.
Right, so the water department, I'm guessing, would have been asked to comment when the building permit was applied, right? And they wouldn't have necessarily been aware of the ZBA hearings, been asked to comment at the ZBA hearings. But when the building permit's gonna be issued, or the demolition permit, it gets circulated to all the departments, and the water department gets it, okay, yeah, you need to.
And they make a note.
They make a note.
If there's something.
Also, whoever did the cutback cap so that they could put the piles in, had to go to the water department. Typically, at that point, they would say, hey, be prepared, you're gonna have to probably replace that to the street. Now, we replaced the water main down on Blaze Road back about 8 to 10 years ago. And when we did that, we ran a new stub up right to the edge of our property. So that's why it doesn't have to go all the way into the road, it's a savings at that location. But it's a very tight location because you have houses on both sides, you have septic systems, you get gas service, and you have many things. But on the same token, what happens if that line breaks in January? Somebody's gonna charge you $12,000 for 30 feet, you know, if that line breaks in the same location.
So just dealing with, I don't think that betterment is an option for a couple reasons. It's nowhere near the Murphy's timeline because we would have to go to town meeting for approval to do the betterment. That's not till April. So I think you wanna be in the house in the spring, we wouldn't get to the work until the summertime after we get everything approved. And there's no, I'm not sure how you would, more of a technical, I'm not sure how you would apportion the betterment, because usually it's based on frontage and there's no road down here for frontage, but we can figure that out, but really the problem for the Murphys in terms of betterment, we'd have to go to town meeting in April to approve the betterment, design it, and get it done, and it wouldn't get done until sometime over the summertime when we do our water contracts. So
Okay,
I
at
just
this-
don't think the time works out for that.
All right, let's see if you have some other questions.
Thanks. So I just wanna understand, Kevin, you had mentioned that this sort of policy, the replacement of the line for any new construction is not new. What we changed were the specs of the type of pipe that we were requiring to run, and that's what changed, was the specs of the pipe in March.
And they also, according to Sean, they cleared things up in this, so they made it easy to read.
Yeah,
the
that's
bylaws
okay.
and everything.
I'm more concerned about why they weren't aware that when they're completely doing a demo, that that line needs to be replaced, regardless of whether it's a 1-inch or 2-inch. So seems to be where the communication dropped for Murphy's, in my mind.
That was, our concern was that we began this project in essentially October of '21. And the specifications came into play March 15th. But no mention was made of it until our neighbors were told about it before us, because the building permit hadn't even been issued yet. So we didn't actually find out about this until August 19th, 2022 from October. And it's for us, that's a lot of money. We're not
Yeah,
contractors,
yeah.
we're not developers.
Yeah.
The shared line, there was nothing, I mean, it's not perfect, it's 1 inch cut, yeah, the water pressure isn't wonderful. But nobody's complained about it, and we've all lived in
Right,
peace
I've never
for the
heard
last
anybody say anything about the water.
4 houses on it. We have no problem with, it becoming a plastic line. Our problem is that right now, they're asking us to put this line in. So there's 1 or 2 choices, either it's going to be 3 or 4 spaghetti lines down there, we choose a 1 inch line, there's still a shared line and a gas line. Or 1 line goes in, but why should we have to front the money for the shared line for everybody that we may or may not see 15, 20 years from now? It just doesn't seem like it's fair, so.
And if I could just go back to number 20. It says water services shall be renewed back to the water main and notice price for all major construction. So if that, I mean, why was that stated right there if it was already stated? And we took this as this is something new. So, why was it presented as that's what we're requiring now? We assumed that it wasn't required.
No, so I don't have the specifications in front of me, and I asked Sean Anderson about that, and he said, no, that's new specifications.
Right,
He
but
done
that
the
was-
specifications.
Right.
But he said, since he's been here, that's been enforced. So that's not a new
But I guess,
requirement, right?
why did you present it to them to vote on if it was old? Why you don't vote on
It
things
was
that are already in place?
It's the entire package, it's all our standing specifications, they updated the entire thing. One of the things they say is they show how a water service should go in. We always have what the water service should go in, it's just an updated set of specifications. It's not an amendment to the existing specifications.
Okay, because we were sharing this, so.
There we go. I think, Tony, do you have a question?
Well, it's a difficult situation. I feel very bad for the homeowners because it's an unexpected expense and it's not pennies. But Kevin, Sean's been here for how many years? 5, 6, 7?
6.5.
6, so there's not a timing. It's not like you did your plan beforehand. And I'm just wondering how, I think Maura was alluding to this too, how did the engineer not know that that's what had to be done? And I feel like some of the burden is on them for not designing the right system for you.
Well, they did design the right system.
Well, they didn't use- Right, but not with not the right specs though. Right, they didn't put a 2-inch PVC line in there.
Not up the street.
Right, so I think part of the miscommunication is the fact that these specs, and I think it'd be great to have some more evidence or to show that these specs are older than any other new construction, any demolition, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, that for at least 7 years prior to all this happening, anyone in town demolishes a house.
That's
they have
on a
to-
shared water line.
That's on a, is it shared water lines?
This is a shared water line.
On any water line. So,
Well, a shared water line's a little different than an individual. Individually, you can require somebody to go out to the street, but when there's 4 families involved, and you say, because you demolished your house, you're off, and these 3 can stay on.
and so whether it's good or bad, that regulation on even a shared water line, someone else would have to put out a water. Is that correct? Right? That there's a brand new line that has to go out. And that's been.
So if one of the other Brady homes had
Demolished.
demolished their house, they would have to update the line back to the main. Correct.
And there's nothing that this board did I'm just trying to clarify. Right, and for my colleagues, correct me if I'm wrong, in March that changed that regulation, is that right?
My knowledge, no.
So could I just ask at this point if this has been in place for that many years, why did Bob Vogel never heard of it? Neil Duggan never heard of it. Our builder never heard of it. Michael Ball, who built 159 down the road from us, never heard of it before. defies.
I'm with you there, I don't know if I'll get the answer tonight, if we know, but we can resolve this problem, yeah.
Yeah, Andrew, I think that if we have evidence that this has been the way this has been in effect prior to this, then I think it would behoove us to show the homeowners that this in fact has been. And it's really, you know, I think when you start relying on, well, I never heard of it, I never heard of it, I mean, you're in court, that's called hearsay or unreliable witness, but I think if we have examples of where a house has been demolished and the homeowner has had to put in a new water line, even if it's shared.
And I think you have to, when you consider it's a shared line, if you look at that picture, there's a 12-foot right of way. Currently, there's a water line and a shared water line and a gas line that's only within 2 feet, because you have to be 10 feet from a septic leaching field. So that leaves us 2 feet. If we were to put in a 1-inch line, that leaves us a 1-inch shared line and a gas line. Now the next house wants to rebuild, then they have to do it too. So now you have 2 1-inch lines, a shear line, and a gas line. And that makes no sense. The alternative is the bids. If you look at these bids we had, not only do they have so many liability issues going along with them because of this multiple lines down there. Not only do they have that, they're also saying to us, I lost my train of thought here. They look like they're including curb stops. If you look in, there's 4 curb stops on this 2-inch water line that we're talking about. To me, that says if there's 4 curb stops, you're having us build a shared line so that everybody can hop onto it in the future. And if you don't think it's a problem 15 years from now, when our neighbor wants to, has to get on the line or because the line explodes or whatever, and they ask to come on ours and we say, okay, could you pay us $4,000 each, please? That's gonna be legal expenses for us down the road. It's just a difficult situation to do when everyone's sharing equally, not only benefit, but the expense of the lines. Any repairs to the lines have been done by the individual families. They have not been done by the town. So we're not against putting a new line, we're against that the burden is on us. And after 11 months of getting our house together, this comes out.
So I have one last question.
Yeah.
I know.
So the number that you gave us, and I'm probably looking at an old version of the letter, because I know we got a new version, so forgive me. The 90,000 to 100,000 is not the right number.
That was an estimate.
No, I addressed
Okay,
that earlier.
yeah, and we get multiple versions of things and they come at us pretty fast, and so I didn't catch that on the old version. So
Okay.
it's not 90 to 100,000,
No.
it's more in the neighborhood of 15,000 or so.
Well, it depends where it's going, if somebody else is going on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to be in the
More
right,
like 17,000, but that's assuming.
we want to be in the ballpark,
That's
so I don't want to be 90 when it's 20.
No, but plus the liability insurance, which we have
Right.
no idea how much that's gonna cost us. Because if you look at those
Tony.
estimates, they're this long of things, we're not covering the wall caves and if this happened, which are all very likely
Tony has-
considering it's 10 feet you work in.
Well, I'm sorry to say you're dealing with insurance companies, and I won't tell you what I think about insurance companies.
Oh,
Well,
Uh,
but then, I mean, to us, this is an important
Of
point
course.
that, well, not, obviously the whole thing is, but, what's his name, Mankiewicz? Jamie Mankiewicz did our neighbor's single line last November. He said, and he's been doing it for 35 years, I won't even give you a quote unless one line comes out and one line goes in, because putting 2 lines or more down the road is creating spaghetti lines, which I've been told over and over we don't want.
And not to mention this, but if we were
And
allowed
heat
to
transfers
go
and
back
fees, yeah.
onto an April, because our project is now potentially gonna be impacted, because he's gonna need water pretty soon to test the septic. And even if it was done as a betterment, and we came on, joined back to the line, and then came off later when it was put through, that's something we could work with. And we're not unwilling to pay our share of it, but to ask us to pay the whole thing up front is something that everyone's gonna join in on, just does not seem fair.
Because we're creating spaghetti lines where they don't exist.
Tony, you look like you were gonna jump in and say something, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough predicament. I don't know it seems like the two options that you're asking us for is to either put the wrong line in there or enforce a betterment that we really don't have the ability to do. I
I'm sorry, I
agree.
didn't hear that, but the wrong one?
No, we're not, we're just saying, leave us on the line as is, and then when it
Right,
breaks
but that's the,
15, 20 years.
right, that's not what our regulations or what our water department wants. They want to put it on the proper line. So we either have to not pay attention to that regulation, or I agree the right thing to do is to have all four people pay their portion of it, but that's not something that we can regulate. It's not a town property. So it's a tough situation. I think I feel bad for you guys, but I don't really like doing the first option, which is not following the guidelines of proper water use from our water department.
Guidelines
I
all
guess-
in March, and we started this in October and didn't become aware of it until September.
So let's talk about what we want to do.
Well, I was just gonna, I think, the thing that I think is being missed here, in my opinion, is that the line was gonna be requested to be replaced regardless, because it's new construction. Now, you share it, so that's the complicated
Yes.
part in my mind. So it's got nothing to do with that, this is something new that we placed a burden on the residents. That's moot in my point, because you would have been required to replace the line anyway. Am I correct in that?
If that's in effect.
One minute, I'm asking, I'm trying to get a handle on this whole situation as well. Are we
Yes.
all on the same page with that?
When I read all this initially, I thought that something had changed in the middle of the project,
Me too.
and that's not what's happened, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was when I first read everything, and I'm completely sympathetic with that situation. So it's a dilemma, I don't know what we do with your neighbors. So is there any sort of precedent, Kevin or Jim, when we come across this, I mean, they can't have the only shared water line in town?
No, we've had other shared water lines that people did not want to replace, and eventually they did break, and they wound up replacing them because they had no water to their
At their
homes.
cost?
At their cost, yes. So, that's happened in the past, we have done some work on, private ways to improve water quality where we had black water and it was affecting a larger area where we added a hydrant or some pipe, but, we don't have any, legal rights to even go in there, without having, easements with everybody.
And what are the ramifications of leaving it?
Well, it could break, that's a huge problem. The other thing that concerns the water department is that the Murphys are building a new house. We're assuming it's higher up, it's on stilts, bathroom levels and everything else, and you only have a 1-inch pipe that's feeding all four of those houses. Is it gonna have a negative effect on them and the neighborhood by added water use or added water capacity? It's one of the things that they brought up.
Are you adding bedrooms as well, or?
No, it was a 3 staying.
Same.
And so again, just for clarification, if it did break, who would be responsible? All the homeowners?
All homes, we would shut it off, we would shut the water line off at the end of the street.
And then all.
But that was one of the options that they could do, is if they wanted to, I believe Mark had the second option, that they could just run a single line to feed their own house and be done with all of this.
But I see what the concern is in doing that, is that you're then putting multiple lines in a very small area.
So that was the
Where they
lowest
can't-
priced option, and the
that's
contractor was
not-
$12,000 and taking the liability for that.
And 3 veteran contractors in town will not touch it. They won't even give us a quote.
To put the single line.
Mango, Spencer, and Putnam.
Or a double line, anything, as long as the other line
It
is.
says spaghetti lines.
I mean, the quotes may be that for the estimate of the jobs, but how much it's gonna cost us in addition to that, so that we don't lose everything. by being sued by the town, or the neighbors or something, if they break a line or something happens.
The existing carpet line, actually, we asked,
But the liability, you know, the contractor that now.
well, that's what I asked you in the email about, all the things Tony is saying aren't covered. Does that mean we as just owners have to get liability insurance?
I didn't see Tony from Celco's quote, so I'm not, I don't know what, to be honest with you, I didn't know what you were talking about, so I didn't see his quote.
Well, it's all the things he said weren't covered, and then our own guy Steve, who owns Meridian, he had a laundry list of things that he wouldn't cover.
So on a
So
typical
we-
street, we run down, we use Celco, we run down, and if they break the water service, we've had contractors break the water lines, they fix them, and they fix everything up. And that's what their liability insurance for, they do damage to something else. Once they price it, they own it, and it's their responsibility.
Right.
Not,
No, Steve, who did all of our site work on just our property, yes, he had to show us his liability for X number of millions. And he had to have it to get a permit. So I assume this is permitted work also? We need to have a permit?
he wouldn't need a permit from us because we've already, when we went by, we already upgraded the service to the new pipe and brought it on the edge of the property, so that's a savings there also.
No, we know that, we know that.
All right, well, I don't think we're getting. So, for today's purposes, I don't know if everyone feels comfortable about making a determination, or if you would like to find more evidence or not, I don't know where
Yeah, that's
your
what
head is.
I'm asking, do we have any evidence that we can show that in a similar situation, this was the solution, whatever the solution was?
I don't know if we'll have the exact situation with the shared line, but if this is postponed, they could bring Sean Anderson in with some more information. Is one
Will
option,
it help resolve the situation?
I don't know.
Because I don't wanna
Well,
cost you
yeah.
more time. Time is
Right,
the
right, now that it's
essence here.
October, it's, yeah,
Right.
you guys only give it 2 weeks.
Right.
Actually, Sean or Martin, I forget which one, said at Bayberry Road, Bayberry Lane, it's off Bailey Swellway.
Yeah.
He said we just had them replace theirs, so of course we went and took a look. And it's not the same situation because Bayberry, the new home, they put a water line in, and it's a very short line to the street because it's the first house on the right, and it was a vacant lot, there was never a house there. So that is not the same situation. And that's the only one they mentioned to us, that was.
It'd be hard to find the exact situation. If you're looking at, 145 blades, 145 R blades, and then the 145 double R blades, so
Mhm.
it's,
That's the one of them.
it'd be hard to find it. We might find something similar where there was a spaghetti line, but exactly this situation would be hard. We can see what we can find.
I guess part of this is to make sure that regulation that we're saying, demolition, that is pre-existing to all of this as well. Some of this, possible misconception.
And I'm going by what Sean Anderson.
Right, so
Since he's been
and if we're
here,
wrong on that, that's a huge.
So the first thing we need to do is find you a copy of the regulations prior to March of 2022.
Correct.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, Tony, I don't know where your head is, do you wanna make a determination tonight or postpone until we get more information?
Well, I think we've heard everything that we need to hear. I mean, if we want to do some investigation work, fine. We've never really done that before for asking people to show evidence of us doing stuff before. If the policy is this, then we got to adhere to the policy. But I think we're done hearing, I think we're repeating ourselves in terms of the story. So either we're going to vote tonight or we're going to research it and come back 2 weeks later and vote it.
Well, Mark, we're vote tonight
Yeah, I
or wanna
mean-
postpone?
I don't have to strong, well, I'd also like to see if you went back to your neighbors and said, look, the policy hopefully will verify, I'm pretty sure it was there, because I think we only changed the pipe, has been in place for years. We're gonna have to replace the pipe eventually anyway, and just see if you can get them to agree to it, so you aren't, absorbing the full burden of the replacement of the pipe. Because
Well, nothing's wrong with the pipes, so we've actually, they've all been asked, and they have said to us that, yeah. One of them.
One is,
Well, they don't know that once, to Kevin's point, the water department's point, when that water flow changes as a result of the new configuration, I'm not an engineer, I have no idea, I'm just going from what I'm hearing. It could have an impact on a 1-inch pipe, right? And it may behoove you all to have the 2-inch.
no, in a perfect world, we'd love to have a 2-inch pipe. But I do still feel there's a major sticking point of saying that this has been in place, it's not new. And I know that,
Alright, so then
you-
let's agree to just get some discovery on
But
that.
Scituate builders, Michael Ball, Bob O'Neill, they've never heard of it. How could that possibly be?
I personally think if that is what your issue is, and it sounds like what it is, then we need to go back and show you that these regulations were in existence prior to this. The changes that we made were probably, as we're usually, language changes and the change to the type of pipe. And that going forward, this is what the town wants, et cetera. But if this was already in existence, then I don't think we've got much of a discussion.
So if I can, I had sent Sean Anderson an email this afternoon saying, hey, I didn't realize it was on the agenda again, so I said, hey, this is on the agenda, can we make tonight's meeting? He said, I can't, I have something with my kids, but I'll do a little research on it. So he sent me the following email, and this may help, it may confuse things more. He gave a breakdown of what it was. It has been the water department's policy to have owners of homes that demo and rebuild to terminate the road lines at the main and install new ones from the main at their cost. That's before my time here. I can't find it in writing at this time, continue to look.
Kevin, thank you. That's great. Kevin. I'm with you. I'd like to see, I'm not personally that interested in an email an hour. In the sense that number one, I can see how stressed this is making. I totally understand.
Oh, yeah.
Trust me,
What do you
I
mind?
can absolutely see it, but this is, so, and I can only speak for myself that we don't want to treat anyone differently, hence why I think some of us are talking about making sure that we're applying the rules equally. We want to make sure, the email could be great, I would love to see it actually in writing where it was, from the archivist, and even whatever, to make sure that we're on the same page, to make sure, so if we have some discovery in that sense, I don't know if you're comfortable postponing until we have that, Tony?
That sounds great.
We'll
We'll be back in 2 weeks.
back in 2 weeks after we get more information, for sure. So,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Construction is not easy.
Right, Kevin, you're up.
I'm up.
Contracts for 2 knee replacement trucks.
2 new replacement trucks.
Will we have someone to drive them?
Let's hope so. So we were able to track down a couple trucks. It's been really difficult finding equipment. But we do have 2 trucks, so we're getting in on order. We have 2 separate contracts, contract HW44 and PG46. They are for 2 K2500 Chevys, model 2023. They're replacing some older trucks that were put forward in the town meeting. Prices are $60,383.63 respectively. And I put the same price for the other one too, exact same price. So we did hear from the people we're buying them from, they could be replaced with the 2024 if they don't have it in the lot or it's not readily available like the next season. But these 2 trucks we found.
And so again, the existing truck, these trucks are over 13 years old. And I'm sorry, say if they can't get the 2023, they can get the 2024 model?
No additional cost when we sign in now, so they said if they become not available, right now they're in the queue to be made, but I've had an international truck that's been on hold for 2 years, so if they are made, they'll honor these prices.
Okay, I thought I saw you motion, no?
All set?
Mark,
I'm sure it's part of the capital plan, what to reallocate, 65,000.
I think so. And they come with plows, all the lights, backup alarms and everything else.
that's okay, yeah, that's great, in fact, we can get them, would be wonderful.
Like a motion,
I would love a motion.
I'm gonna combine it. Oh, no, they're different, okay. Move that the select board award the contract 22HW-44 to purchase a new 2023 Chevrolet Silverado K2500 with plow in the amount of $60,383.63. And further move that the select board award the contract 22PG-46 to purchase a new 2023 Chevrolet Silverado K2500 with plow in the amount of $60,383.63.
Second.
Ms. Curran, Ms. Conley, roll call vote.
Mr. Vignani,
Yes. Yes.
Yes,
Ms. Curran,
Yes,
Ms. Conlon.
Yes.
it's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. All right. Now we come to the fun part of the evening. We have some interviews. Oh, gotta get our books. Hold on one moment. Let's see. We have first for our sister city. Do we have Hope? Hope is here. All right. Come on.
That's a good phrase, Hope is here.
Hope is here. I didn't even mean
I
that.
may have heard that once before.
I did that as, oh, 44. Oreo.
Well,
Excellent. And then I think, state your name and address for the record, please. I'm
Hope
sorry.
Hernandez, I live in Casey, Massachusetts.
And you can just tell us why you're interested in.
So anytime that I can be involved in educating people and getting community together to learn more about Cape Verde, I'm all in. It's been a passion of mine my whole life, and you might ask why Scituate? My family is from Scituate, my father was raised by his aunts, who were my grandparents, the closest I know. So I have a close connection to Scituate, my family is still here, my cousins are still here, I just never lived here, just been
Which is fun. And how did you hear about the committee at large?
One of my cousins called me and said, I think you would really like to get involved with this. I think that your ability to teach and bridge community would be a good thing. The only thing I'm confused about is the business connections, but anything cultural is definitely my strong point.
All right.
So you have existing connections there? in Cape Verde?
Yes, oh, I still have family and I don't want to use it.
Oh, great, so you travel back? and forth.
Yes.
And Plymouth isn't Kingston, Kingston, even closer, I can just sit.
Johnny, do you have some questions or?
Just a quick comment, and I brought this up last time. I guess I'm a little concerned that we're not getting enough Scituate people on this committee. And I don't know I don't have all the data in front of me here. Is it 50-50 or? And I'm sure Hope, you're a great candidate, and we'll probably put you on the committee because we need to get it jump started and get really a great basis for it. But I'm wondering, that's just sticking out to me a little bit. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Do we know how many are, I'm looking at the list, everybody that we've already appointed. I remember one individual was from out of town. I don't remember which one. There's 3. All right, well, we can sort of discuss that. I hope, what, culture, are you a teacher? I don't see it back.
I'm an educator, yes.
Okay, great, so you're an educator,
I'm
and
a
that's the
teacher
value.
and a leader. I've been an assistant principal, acting principal. Right now I'm in the classroom, I'm a curriculum coordinator.
Great,
So I just say educator.
right. So you'd be really instrumental in bridging that school component and the cultural component between the
That would be my strong.
so, okay.
I just,
At least 6 are Scituate residents.
at least
Okay.
6.
For a quick view, yes.
Say that again, Lorraine, I didn't hear it.
At least 6 are Scituate residents after a quick review.
6 of how many, and how many non?
10, 6 of 10, 8 are on now, 6 of the 8 are Situate residents.
So we need 2 more.
We have 2 more openings and 2 candidates tonight.
Okay, perfect.
And one of the 2 tonight is from Situate as well. Okay?
There's a question that I've asked other folks, what is something you really want folks to know about particular, that you're excited about, that you want to be educated about, and say, hey, if you could go to shake them and say, here's something you need to know. So I still don't know enough. Basically, what's your passion that you want folks to really hone in on, if that makes sense?
We're a resilient culture that has helped build this country, whether it was the whaling ships or the cranberry bogs or in the schools, that is what we brought. And I think people have forgotten that and we need to remember that and take pride in it.
Cranberry, we'll talk about cranberry, I didn't know that. Shipbuilding and, okay. Any other questions or?
No, I just think that if you're a person who likes to get things started, this is for you. So, we're looking, and I will say, I'm not so disturbed by there being a few people that aren't from Scituate on this committee, because what I'm actually seeing is evidence of a very close-knit community. And I, in fact, would like to see us develop some relationship with New Bedford and Fall River, because I think there are connections to be made there. And if we're trying to, bring different perspectives to Scituate, those are, in South Shore parlance, big cities. So I'm really interested in that. I mean, where's the Ernestina now? Is it in Bedford?
I believe she's still in Bedford.
Yeah. I mean, there are lots of connections, so I understand Tony likes Scituate. We all love Scituate, but you have connections here
Please
as
take
well.
pride in your own community, right?
Yes. I'm hoping more people will move here.
So I was gonna chime in, I can tell.
Sure, I'll just say, I don't want to be misconstrued here. I like Scituate, and I'm sure Karen likes Scituate too.
I do.
But I thought the number was much greater than 6-2 in terms of people in town and people out of town. So that is a different perspective that I didn't realize. So that's great. And I'm sure your background is impeccable. I think you're gonna do a great job, and we've got a lot of great people. So with the other people that work from Scituate also. So more power to you, and do great things.
Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you so much, and I love hearing about it. I can tell the passion, it's fabulous, so thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
and we're gonna vote, we usually vote later in this, so you don't have to stick around.
Okay.
And Lorraine will let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Right, next we have Taylor Lawrence. Hello.
I am the Scituate resident here for Sister City.
All right.
I'll just get started, I guess.
Yeah.
I am Cape Verdean. I've grown up here all my life. I did briefly move away for a few years, but I'm back. I'm happy to be back. A lot has changed just in like 5 years. It's been fun to see a lot of old faces, but a lot of new too. And I'm a former teacher, so teaching and educating is also in my DNA. I have a child now, and so I've been meeting a lot of young families, and I say this because in meeting these new people that have come to Scituate, have come and moved here, they don't know anything about Cape Verdeans. A lot of them are like, oh, I thought my neighbors were Brazilian. And so I do think we look alike, but I think that it's important that you know who your neighbors are, you know who you are surrounded by. I think one other thing I wanted to tell you, and I know that I wrote it in my little bio, was that my great-grandfather was Alfred Gomes. He had Pitcock Farm, and that's over where I live now. I'm still there. My grandmother was, she did a lot of work in the town for Cape Verdeans, and she was just involved in a lot of activities. But I think that it's really important for people to just know our heritage and to know what we did in Scituate, like with my grandfather's farm, he brought a lot of our family over here. He brought, I think it was about 25 people from our family over here. They all worked on the farm. He hired a bunch of teenagers that would work on the farm here. And it's funny when people don't know, but it's awesome hearing the stories of the people who do know, who have heard of the farm. Like, it's really fun hearing the older generation that are like, oh, I know your grandfather, he had the best blueberries. We still have 30 blueberry bushes. We still have those. Like, it's just cool. But I really want to be a part of this because I kind of want to continue what he started and what my grandmother tried to continue. And it's been a while since our family has been part of anything here.
That's fabulous.
Well, I have to say, I think it's great, the agricultural heritage of this town, that people think more of us as a maritime
Yes.
town, and don't know that there were a lot of farms in town, and that there are some vestiges, but to be able to celebrate, I would hope at Heritage Days, photographs and memories that people have of the farms that were here, and where you can still see that they're.
Someone recently on Third Cliff dropped off a USB to me, and it's of my great grandfather walking our land, and it shows it shows like the fields, all of his flowers, it shows a bunch of his crops. It's really awesome. Because I had never heard him speak before, so that was really cool. Yeah.
So you went to
Welcome, yeah.
John, just to get the video on the website.
Yeah. It's really cool.
I love your energy, and I love the fact that you'll be bringing in that next generation as well, because I think to your point, having that connection in the community, and I'm so happy with all of the folks that are coming in to sign up. So ready to hand this town over to the next generation so you can take care of it and elevate it and continue to educate on its heritage, especially with regards to Cape Verde. So you have great energy, and I think you're a great asset.
Thank you.
Tony?
Yeah, I'll be short and sweet and repeat somewhat more says. Your energy and your pride and your heritage just are overwhelming, and I think you'd, be a great asset to the committee. So, thanks for applying.
Thank you.
I'm so excited. I think you'll be getting good news. I'm not going to speak for the board, but I think things are looking good. But we will vote later.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll let you know.
Great, thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
All right. Next for beautification, we have Jean Marie. By yourself, and I forgot to ask the address for the record.
Jean Marie Boulder, I live at 73 Greenfield Lane, Scituate. And I've been volunteering for 5 years now as a beautification adopt-a-lot caretaker. I did 3 years at Elephant Garden in the middle of the common, and then I've done the last 2 years down at Brook Street in Stockbridge, intersection there in the middle. And Mary Tenero has been very convincing about joining the board and becoming a member, and I feel like at this point, my kids are older, my daughter's in college, my son's graduating this year, that I have a little bit more time to give, so I thought this would be a good opportunity to join in and do some good stuff for the neighborhood and the community. Yeah.
I'll just open it up.
Well, all right, I will say, Maura's been our liaison to beautification for 8 years.
I am now currently, but I wanted
You're
to.
currently, I have not, but I will say on behalf of the select board that that committee has become more and more and more important. And it's more and more and more evident that what that committee does lifts the whole town up.
Right.
And
we're expanding and we're adding
Yes,
events
and
and
yes, I just think it's great.
more people to take care of, but that's hopefully, I'd be able to maybe bring in outreach to a different, demographic, and maybe that would help to keep it going. We have awesome, this summer I volunteered with a group of women over at a friend's house just to help. She needed some caretaking, and I got to meet a lot of the members of the board, and they're just awesome ladies, so I'm excited to join them and help with
That's for the word already.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Elephant garden looks beautiful, so
yeah,
I'm sure, yeah, and I
it's a
love-
big one. It's
It
it wasn't
is,
an
it
easy one
looks,
to
it
do.
looks great, and, I'll just say ditto to what Karen said. But I think you brought up a good point, is really reaching out to a new constituency,
Right,
to keep feeding it, because
Right.
it is very fulfilling. I mean, I take care of my adopt a lot, and it's great, and people love it, you get a lot of compliments as folks drive by, so
Right.
the work does not go unnoticed. So if you can convince some new folks to come in to take
Right,
care of those
right, that's
additional
what I think.
places, I think there's a lot of pride and a lot of, satisfaction that is had when you see your gardens
right.
blooming.
And I do
So,
think that people do stop and they do compliment and they give you, nice tips, which is awesome. But it's like getting the word out there. I don't think a lot of people realize that they're all volunteers that take care of those beds. And so that would be great too, just to get a little more like publicity and like out there so people are aware of what's happening.
And are you the type of person that would take that on for them?
I would definitely help for sure, and I'm willing to jump in, like, just even some new ideas, like planting spring bulbs this year, we're gonna do like a small committee and just do all the beds with bulbs, like to add for springtime,
Yeah.
So I think that, yeah, absolutely,
Well, thank you for
you're
stepping up.
welcome, yeah, no problem.
Tony?
Yeah, I have nothing to add. 5 years of doing it and finally getting on the committee. All the
Yeah.
best.
Thank you, thanks. Okay,
That's a great thing. It's
All right.
fabulous. That's a great committee. So
Okay.
Thank you so much.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe
Great evening.
Situate Community TV, what takes some
Yeah.
pictures of all the nice islands and we'll share the beautification. That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah. Really
But
nice.
June, spring, late
Yeah.
spring.
I'm sorry, did you have any comments as I was walking away?
No, I was just saying that Situate Community TV should probably do a whole feature on all the various gardens and islands that
That would be
volunteers
awesome.
take care of.
Yeah.
So, but
That would be
spring,
amazing.
that comes spring,
Adding this up, just that's this.
yes.
All
There's
right.
nothing to do.
We're, Whole Parkway redevelopment, is there a Graham? Graham here? McGurk.
Yes.
Sorry about that. You are up.
So I am Graham McGurr, I live at 34 Kent Street here in town.
Kind of tell us about yourself and why you're interested and kind of what brought you to be part of this.
Sure, we moved to town in 2007, so just over 15 years ago. Started a family, we have 3 kids now between 7 and 14. And the first 10 years were pretty crazy. My wife going to Boston, I was going to Plymouth for a family business. And ultimately we decided to sell the family business so I could be closer to home, keep a more watchful eye on the kids. So we bought Harbor Light Toys and Candy and kind of have built that over the last 4 years. So definitely invested in the downtown area. We live right there and absolutely had no idea how great it was when we luckily moved into that house. So we just look at the harbor area as a place to be treasured and improved and protected for a long time to come. And I figured it's time to get involved and try to spend some time and energy making sure that can happen. So.
Thanks.
We can't appoint him. Place cost me a fortune every time I walk. We go in.
Mr. Candy is the rock candy Legos. Oh, yeah. Always have it. Rock candy goes like this.
Every time I walk by.
Jiu-jitsu, then we're gonna go get the rock candy and it's.
We go in, we
Done.
go in, we. It's all your fault.
Questions?
Sure, I'll ask
Yeah.
a question, sure. Thanks for coming forward, Graham.
Mm-hmm.
Working down there, investment in your business, what do you see as, what you would like to accomplish on this committee?
Well, as far as Cole Parkway specifically, we see the flooding. We see, just an area that probably needs to be thought through how it's going to react to climate change and be protected, especially as a business. I've been there during some of the storms. We're luckily a little higher at our threshold, but it's nerve-wracking to know that, the Atlantic might be visiting overnight. So just trying to get involved with ways to mitigate that, as well as we see the seasonal business is so important. I hate to see the empty storefronts. And I think we want to find any way to try to make the downtown just thrive even more.
Thrive year-round.
We've learned a lot about the history of the town just through talking to other long-term residents, and I'm always so interested in where it's been and where it is and where it's gonna go, because it's, you know, the sky's the limit. We have the best harbor that I know of, so kind of looking to keep it that way, and obviously it's, you know, spend a lot of time down there, so.
Great. I had another question, but it went out of my head, so I'll pass for a minute, but thank you. And I guarantee you 99% of people will not have looked at this yet, but have you had a chance to look at the Harbor Resiliency Report that is online? Because if you haven't, you really should.
I haven't, I was part of one of the first meetings, and then
Okay.
kind of lost track of it,
Yeah.
but I didn't see the actual report.
Well,
I
then
saw-
COVID happened and everything.
Yeah, I saw the presentation they put, but I don't know if that's the final report.
There is a report online, so you might want to take a look at it. And my understanding of this charge is it's strictly looking at Cole Parkway at this point, right?
Yes.
And what we can and can't do with it. Are there, Jim, will there be any sort of interim steps that this committee might want us to take?
Well, I think it's gonna really have to come up with a solution to Cole Parkway, because I'm not sure you can do a lot of interim stuff. There's a couple things we're gonna try to do. Right at the corner where the Coast Guard is, I talked to Amy, I talked to Kevin Gaffney about just putting like an 8-inch curb there. Because if we get a real high tide, that'll flood right in that corner. That'll help a little bit, but I think you have to look at it as a whole. If you try to just do little things, it's gonna make the problem worse someplace else.
Yeah.
And it's Cole Parkway, but it will extend to wherever, so we'll have to go probably around onto Foster. Every Foster, because you start keeping the water on, you're just gonna push it over there, so you have to pick up some of that so it doesn't come back around
Well, that's the hard part,
in
isn't
the
it?
intersection, but I think it's gonna have to be real comprehensive look at the whole thing, that's kind of what they have to do.
But they won't be asked for any interim ideas, like, I know that the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K parking drives people nuts.
That's not part of the resiliency, that's something that we just gotta talk about ourselves, it's
Alright.
kinda,
So this is a long term
this is a long-term,
expensive.
we have problems with flooding and resiliency in the harbor, how are we going to fix that without blocking access to the water, for lack of a better way of putting it? And the other big concern is, we're talking about raising the parkway, putting buffers, we really can't afford to take out a lot of parking either, so it's gonna be a
And we have businesses that are right there.
Yep.
So, hope your revision.
Looks like a challenge.
I think it's a challenge.
Tony?
Hi, thanks. Thanks for coming in. As you probably know that this committee is made up with a lot of appointed positions, and we added one resident position, which is what you're applying for. So we're going to be speaking with a number of residents. What are you going to be able to bring to the table that you think, other than working down there, that is going to make the most impact on the committee?
A lot of my history was 20 years working in a manufacturing business, so dealing with a lot of different vendors, clients, a lot of different people involved with solving problems that were, whether day-to-day or long-term, specifically in the printing industry, which has gone through a lot of challenges. So I think some of that experience just with trying to think through creative solutions, get the right people involved, and come up with ideas that may not be on the table at the moment might be helpful, as well as following through with things that could, see if there's a better way to construct something or get some other people involved that might know certainly better than I, or, just bring some of that experience dealing with groups of people to get these solutions.
Great, thanks. As you can imagine, we're going to have a tough decision. I think there's 4 residents to choose from, so you have a good background that I think will be helpful as well. Thanks.
I would just ask one last question, timing, do you have the time to put in and meet at the meetings? Because a lot of times we'll put these committees together, we can't get a quorum because folks don't show up.
Yes, without knowing the meeting schedule,
Right.
part of the change from full-time manufacturing position to now the toy store is a lot less impactful and mobile. So that is right in line with the reason to make that move originally.
Thank you.
Sure. All right. Thank
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm looking for Sherry. Is Sherry there? Still alive? How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm Sherry Critchfield Lyons. I live at 23 Youngs Lane in Scituate Harbor. For those of you who don't know where it is, it's off of Brook Street, right across from the old Senior Citizen Center. It's a small lane and there are only 2 houses. I do not live in the house with the big lawn.
Okay.
The big one.
I am retired. I spent 35 years in oncology. I was a healthcare administrator. I've done a ton of research for chemotherapy drugs. I'm very familiar with research. I've been there forever. I've watched the water come up in the storm drain in front of St. Mary's. I know exactly where Mr. Boudreau is talking about because you see the ocean come up there very slowly. It also comes up from what we call Lucian Rousseau's ramp on the backside of the parking lot. I'm not sure what it's called now, but it's where the lobster boats are. I've done a fair amount of research on this. It's a very expensive solution for most parts. It's also labor intensive. If you know a storm is coming, your DPW workers are gonna have to be out there setting up what they call pigs, those bags that you fill with water, but then they're a pain in the neck to move. I know we could do some berms. The water is going to splash over them. I really thought a lot about this, because I lived through many storms there. Blizzard of '78 was the worst, but I've been there for a long time. And I would just, I'm retired in my time. I volunteer in the archives downstairs. Mr. Boudreau, every once in a while, would say they let you out. And I volunteer at the town library. That's pretty much my story. My youngest son graduated from high school.
Oh. So he knows.
Wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
TJ Lyons.
Small world. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Where'd you go to high school? East.
It's unbelievable.
So, ask away.
Yeah, no, I mean, thank you. I mean, first for your service already in the archives. It's already fabulous.
I love it, Tom. CSI, you know, kicking around to find out who owns what and when they were born.
Start digging around.
Andrew.
I know.
Yeah, I would say it's more Game of Thrones down there.
Oh, no.
CSI. It's a tough spot.
Actually, I'll just open it up, so.
Well, would you describe yourself as a patient person who can work on something that may not come to fruition for many years? Because that's what I'm doing this as. I mean.
Definitely. Have you ever done any research on medical?
No, no, I have
Trying
not.
to get insurance companies for you to pay for your
Oh, I don't
chemotherapy
even
drugs?
I'm not,
Now I know who to call.
I'm not a good person to talk about insurance. So,
I'm a patient person.
yeah, I think this is gonna take patience and perseverance.
I'm also motivated, so.
Good.
No, I love your perspective and the history that you have in the area, and I think that's always really important to understand all the different ways in which that water has flowed over the many years, because a lot of times our memories are jarred by the most recent storm.
Right.
So I think your historical perspective and obviously your research skills would be really helpful.
Right. Well, like Mr. Boudreau said, that water comes in between Nona's and the Coast Guard. It just seeps in, and you can watch it sneak all the way across the parking lot. What do you do to stop it? It's hard to put a finger in the game. So it would be a lot of research.
Yeah, and I would encourage whoever we choose to really look beyond the US.
I was just gonna say, if you want me to go to Norway to see the game.
Sure, no, we can take on a trip. We're going first.
You know, they had that big gate in Norway, that goes
Right.
across the opening to their harbor.
When we went through West Cork, that was one of the things Tony
Yes.
and I did, was meet with their flood control people. And I think what we looked at over there could actually work in the harbor, and I've given all that stuff to Corey to look at, yeah, in terms of how they would still allow it to be scenic and see-through and it still be flood control, so. I think that could be a good model for what we might be down the harbor.
Look forward to seeing.
The other side of that is who's gonna look for the grants that might help you pay for it? Who's gonna write those perspectives?
A good researcher.
Yes.
Yes. A patient researcher. Tony.
Yeah, just kind of the same question, but as we decide between the 4 residents that are applying, what's the one thing you want us to remember about your skill set being an asset on the committee?
Well, I would say number 1 would be the fact that I'm retired, so my time is yours whenever you need me. And number 2 is that I have done a tremendous amount of research over the years so that I can delve in and find what you need.
Great. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming out.
Have a good evening.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Get back to the basement.
What'd she say?
You said get back in the basement.
Just see you tomorrow, get back in the basement.
All right.
We'll make sure you treat it with more respect than that.
Timothy White. Do we have Timothy White?
I don't see Timothy White or Steve Burke here tonight.
Well, there are interviews then.
I can try to reschedule them if you'd like.
Tony, what do you think? So we should probably reschedule then, right? Or do we need to get?
Yeah, we'll give them another shot.
I'll try to
Otherwise-
reschedule them for October 18th.
Yeah.
What are you doing on Tuesday?
All right, so next on the agenda is the beach commission.
Woo!
Right.
Speaking of water.
One moment, what are most today? How are you?
Well, with
Evening. Nice presentation for us tonight on
Yes, we sure
all
do.
right.
I'd like to just say a couple of things in the way of an update before we start on the actual presentation. As you know, we gained a member, Kate Dahlstrom, and unfortunately we lost a member, Deborah Checker-Weems, resigned due to other commitments. I hope you'll have a chance to see the water safety stations at Minot and Egypt before they were taken in on Monday. Very impressive construction from
Someone. I saw one.
The moving mats for Sand Hills were ordered and delivered. They are here at Town Hall in safekeeping until next season. And on to the charge. Third time we're here, and hopefully it's going to be something that you.
Yes.
We did make a kind of major change since we last saw it, and I hope you've had time to look at it. That's in speaking with Tony, we decided that a 3 to 5 year plan for conservation and maintenance should be coming from the beach commission. Should be coming from conservation, coastal management, et cetera. And so we removed that item.
Could you run that by me again? I was not heard.
Sure. We had on there for quite some time, it was a carryover from the original charge, that we were tasked with writing a 3 to 5 year plan, including conservation and maintenance for each of the beaches. And that's really sort of outside our purview, what we have decided. So we removed it.
And so that was Tony who, you and Tony decided that, is that what I'm hearing?
Well, the commission, and Mr. Leon, our liaison.
Okay, I'm just trying to clarify something here. So if you're not going to do it, which I'm not arguing over, who is going to do it? Is it the Conservation Commission?
Then fall on conservation.
Okay, and I
For
heard
what, beach maintenance?
a 3 to 5 year plan.
3 to 5 year plan for conservation maintenance, I think you said, right?
But I heard the words coastal resource,
Coastal management officer
Oh,
or the coastal advisory.
So, all right, this is where I'm getting confused. So Jim, are we looking toward the Conservation Commission along with the Coastal Advisory Commission to work with Corey on creating the beach?
Yeah, you
The
probably have to hire
5-year
someone to help,
plan.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just wanna clarify that. So that is coming out of the Beach Commission's charge. And,
That's what they're suggesting.
okay,
Hasn't happened yet, so that's what she is asking you to approve.
because as Maura knows, the Coastal Advisory Commission is just sort of getting back up to speed again. So if that is the case, and it makes some sense since Coastal Advisory works with Corey and they work with conservation, so.
Jody, did you want to clarify that? Did we have that right?
I can't hear everything very well, but I think what Kelly's getting to is what we want their committee to do is to do things that they'll be effective at and that their skill set can work at, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, but more of the immediate needs and not so much of the just planning outside of that time zone that she was talking about. It's not, it's not their forte and it's not what they can just do easily. So the committee's is very passionate about doing stuff and we're trying to get them pointed in a direction where they can be effective.
All right,
May I ask one more question? Does anybody have a copy of these changes? Where we sit, because I don't.
Page
Yeah.
67?
Was it sent to an email?
I saw it was on the back.
It was in the back.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of versions, I just wasn't, the green line was the original document that I assume you edited. And then further down, it looks like there's at least one that doesn't have any greens on it, green line.
Attached to the existing charge, the red line version of the proposed, the edits accepted today. Pleasure.
At page 2 further, thank you.
Got no problems.
So if I could just say that one of the issues that CPC has had with the Beach Commission coming in for projects such as the mobile mats is that the idea of a plan created by the Beach Commission was more in line with, we're going to do new signs at all the beaches, but we can't do them all at once, so we're gonna do A, B, C, D, E over the course of 5 years. It was not how to manage the beaches, at least in my view. It was more a matter of, if we're doing Moby mats here, are we doing them everywhere? The signage, the issue of the saving stations that you just mentioned, do all the beaches have them? Or are we gonna roll them out? So I think it was more of an equity issue to make sure that each beach is being considered, thought about, and that maybe you don't need Moby mats down at Egypt Beach because there's the boardwalk, whatever it's called. But that every beach is being treated, in an equitable manner, and you can't do everything everywhere at once, and the beaches are unique. So I think, Tony, that was the idea of the plan so that if you're asking for funding, especially from CPC, and I don't think anyone ever envisioned it being more than a page long saying, Minot Beach this, Hammerock Beach this.
We are working on it.
And I think that's the plan. The other issues are clearly huge, the seawall issues, the beach nourishment issues, that sort of thing. I agree, that's completely not your.
We heard you a couple meetings back, ask for a one-pager about amenity enhancements, and we are working on it.
Great. Thank you for clarification. Thank you.
Oh, that makes total sense, sorry. Continue.
So that's the charge, and we're here tonight, and I hope that you'll be able to vote on it. So, is that after the presentation?
Yes, we'll do the presentation and then we'll probably take up both. We'll take up that after the presentation.
Very good. So moving along to entrance signage. I have a couple samples of the materials being considered. The smaller is the Spanish cedar and the larger is the mahogany.
I thought it was smelling wood.
Give it a good sniff, I love cedar.
It's serious.
Oh, that's the best. I want that one. It's cedar. You do, it's,
Take it.
oh, it's fabulous.
So I hope everybody's had a chance to look at the presentation beforehand. I don't want to go through it word by word because I'm sure everyone would like to go home at some point. Basically, we feel there's a lack of something at the beach, and part of that is entrance signage. We'd like a cohesive set of signs at the 6 public beaches currently being under our purview. And we'd like them to be just simple signs, very natural, but something that will, lend an aesthetic to the area, something that will hopefully over time improve sense of community, the home values, and short term possibly prevent accidents, giving people a location knowing they've arrived. Another thing we might consider is that we're being scouted regularly for filming locations, and these might make nice establishing shots for maybe civilian or beaches. Things like that are our thoughts. What are your thoughts?
We'll start with our liaison. Tony, do you have any thoughts or on the signage?
I think it's great. I think the signs would be great. I think the price is higher than I expected, but I think they're right on track in terms of getting more attention to where our beaches are, and then even directing people as to where they can go there. So looks great.
I obviously love the idea of signing them. I'm wondering if we need to tie them into our greater signage policy and aesthetic that we have around town, because it just seems a little disjointed to me.
See Scituate?
Yeah, the Scituate signs that are blue and white, and it doesn't mean it can't still be wood and it can't still be, engraved, so you can still have that quality, but I feel that we've committed ourselves to blue and white all around town. I just think we need to maybe consider that.
Will you flip to slide 20, please? So maybe something like Craigville has would be more in keeping with.
Yeah, is that a blue with the white?
It's still very simple, it doesn't include
Yeah.
any graphic, which would complicate it and take more time, but it's got the blue and white.
I mean, that would just be my only suggestion, is make sure it's tied into that signage, because we spent a lot of money on that. And
Well, we do have, at least in the harbor area, harbor walk signs that I think that if you've looked at those, I think that you'd want to make these somewhat complement. I think we have to pick some sort of an aesthetic and go with it, because right now, I think we're a little bit, as Maura pointed out, a little disjointed in terms of signage.
I think the sign itself here has a bit of the feeling of the harbor walk sign.
Yes, it does. And then I think Museum Beach has a sign, doesn't it?
A museum.
It's got a harbor walk.
There's a little.
It's got one in the harbor walk look.
yeah, and you bring up a good point, I like the style of the one right at the pier, the town pier.
Right.
And maybe we just replicate that, but we can have that same quality.
And it literally goes all the way down to the lighthouse. I mean, they haven't put up all the signs they'd like to put up, but, and they came to CPC for funding for that.
Matching the town pier look was my original intention, and I kind of put my foot in my mouth because I approached Paul Coxis about it, and that was done by a competitor in Cohasset. And a couple things about that sign, it's man-made material, it's not wooden, although it looks it. And the image is a decal, which I'm not in favor of over time myself, but things to consider.
Might be able to modify it,
Yeah, I don't think materials should be an issue in terms of, I think you could.
One way that we could possibly blend these things is to use the background color of the town pier sign and the gilded lettering and have no graphic achievements. Again, that's where it complicates things, at least in one part. And decals.
Yeah, and I don't need to solve it for you, I just think we need to tie it into the aesthetic of the rest of this town.
Yeah.
But I love the idea of naming it and all the work that you've put into the location of it as well.
So there are signs of a couple of beaches though, right? Is it North Scituate and Minot? There was a slide that was just up.
There are the blue and white signs, the list of
Alright.
town bylaws and rules right there, yes.
So are those coming down?
Oh, no, no,
Okay.
no, because they list the rules, regulations, bylaws, they're important to have.
So are you a graphic
It's
person?
very difficult to read.
Are you a graphic person?
I actually have been a graphic.
Okay.
for a long-
All right, so then I think you know what we're getting to at this point.
And I've thought about all of it too.
Whatever's done has to speak to, we're not gonna take those signs down.
No.
So whatever's done for the beach sign of the name and the town of Scituate, whatever, has to speak to that. But I think that those also speak somewhat to the Harbor Walk signs and the welcome, so
But I think we're all in agreement, we all love signs, we just
Yeah.
wanna make sure the aesthetic is kind of uniform with the other color scheme.
And you're suggesting the wood because it lasts longer, weather's better out, or
If it splinters into the environment, it's not a problem.
Right.
I'm all about the environment.
yeah.
Signs, so.
So what will the next steps be on the signs, since we won't do it?
Well, I'd like to see a new design before
Yeah.
it's approved, yeah,
Yeah.
and I would just make sure
Yeah.
our concerns are addressed.
Did you like the shape of the sign and the typeface that it's back? I'm not certain about the typeface. It's back up about 8 slides, I think.
He's the man behind the curtain.
It's the black and
The
white
man behind
graphic,
the curtain.
the line drawing of the signage. It's further back. There it is. The one above the.
So is that, these are the suggestions. I guess my question would be to look at what's the typeface on the current signs that are down there. And have, because I can't tell you by looking at this if these are completely off base or are they close or, but I think we have to see them juxtaposed to each other. How they look together.
If I could just add, because we just finished a project redoing all the signs, the Harbor Rock signs. The one at the Harbor Master's office is a wooden sign with gold leaf lettering. So that's a good one to look at.
Have those been redone already? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they've all been
Good
redone.
reference.
All of those in Cole Park have all been redone, all the way out to, they've all been redone.
I didn't even
Michelle
notice.
Spaghetti is the contact. It was like 2 years ago. Michelle and
Well, then I think that's where we should tile them in together somehow.
It was all donated by, who did we buy, Mordecai Liquor from?
Who did you say that?
Who did we buy Mordecai Liquor from? That's a family name, Jim?
Oh, Lad?
Yeah,
Lads?
it was donated by the lads
Oh,
to refurbish the signs.
I remember. Yes.
Great, so we'll look at the right typeface and get ready, hopefully, start moving on this.
very good.
Excellent.
So can we please go to slide 21? Dune protection signage. We were given these signs by a grant from NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And we think they're very good signs, they're fun. Aren't they? And it's proven that children's illustrations help to prevent vandalism. So we're hoping that nobody will use the wood beams for firewood down there or any other thing. Nobody would have known.
It looks like these were done with a grant from the Woods Hole.
Nice.
I'm wondering if Noah, which is here, would be interested in a project here in Scituate.
What's up?
Noah?
No, I don't know
Oh,
about.
okay, I'm sorry.
What sort of project do you think they would be interested in?
Well, this was done by a grant, and I'm wondering if Noah would consider funding these signs for us in Scituate.
Well, they've given them to us and they would give us more.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
These are
We're
ours.
gonna get- These are ours.
Oh, I thought we were just doing something like that. Okay,
Oh, no,
great.
Oh, yeah.
no, these are for us.
Okay, pardon me, misunderstood.
But we sure hope they're gonna be giving us some of that Inflation Reduction Act or something. That's
So Museum Beach would be a perfect place for one of these signs.
3 for Museum Beach and 2, 1 at Peggy.
Yeah.
Would you skip ahead 2 slides, please?
Okay.
So, 1 back, please. The 3 blue squares represent where we think they'd be the most useful at museum, and while they are
Yes.
very close together, that's where the most wear and tear is happening.
Yes.
We'd also want them right by the street because it came to my attention via the Recreation Commission that half of Museum Beach is privately owned.
I would also work with conservation for the proper placement.
Yes, they are reviewing it too.
Great.
They had this whole presentation, you know.
Excellent. These are great.
Tony, any comments, questions?
Nope, not on this.
This is great, I love it.
Oh, it's fun for kids too.
So we're hoping that you'll be able to approve that tonight and we can go ahead with installation.
Well, I think with the permission of conservation, I think they do also.
And Jim, who ultimately installed them, DPW or?
Yep,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure we want to put them up now. I'll say just the spring.
Right.
Yeah, that's the winter.
Right.
well, the dog walkers don't take the winter off.
Yeah, I'm more worried about dog walks, I'm more worried about the storm or something.
Your feet or your dog's feet.
But yes, Mike Green is down there with me and looked at where we're recommending replacement, and so it would be no problem, they can supply the beams.
So we don't have to we don't have to have a motion to approve these signs, do we?
Yeah, I mean, it's, just put them up, I think it's worked on, so as long as it's wide open, so when we have meetings, we approve it.
Come back to that at the end.
Right, so, there we are, perfect, thank you. Beach grass planting, we have an opportunity to do a fall planting, and we're trying to come up with the funding and a team to plant it, otherwise no problem. But, one more slide, please. The blue area represents about 50% of the fenced area, so with the size of the dune being covered in grass right there, about a half acre.
And this is a Peggy.
Yep. If you just stay on number 30, please. Thank you. So that's what we're talking about.
And is this here, this is, how many times have you done beach grass planting?
I know that, let's see, who was involved? The Boy Scouts and,
Did we do one last year?
Amy Walkley is the one that mentioned it.
I
don't
think we
think
did
it was
something
last.
at Museum Beach at some point.
Yep, they started at Peggy and they used the leftover plants from Museum Beach for their kayakers and,
Right.
I think Situate Public School students did some of the Peggy Beach stuff initially.
there was some organization too, and I can't think who it was.
So there's definitely space, Jen,
Beautification?
where we know.
Did
we're not-
beautification do a beach grass planting?
In June,
I think they're on.
And Corey's, involved in making sure this is the right.
Oh, yes. I met with Corey at Peggy and she scoped the area.
Right.
Would you, skip to the next slide, please? And she also has mentioned that it would be really helpful if we were able to make this fence line wavy instead of straight. It would retain much more sand. Back one more, please. The area in blue, if we could sort of expand and zigzag the fence through, would be really helpful, retain a lot more. And also, do you see the post there? The orange line indicates town property. And those posts indicate where the abutters have taken up. Corey would very much like to extend the dunes down along those posts for resiliency, but that's a problem, and being in the way. At the very far end, somebody's actually filled in their driveway with absolutely horrible fill. It's full of weeds, it's full of tar chunks and other garbage. And that should be done.
So for me, I feel like this is exactly what we talked about 20 minutes ago, that this piece of it belongs with conservation and coastal advisory for resiliency, right? Isn't that what Tony recommended? That, yeah, I'm confused why we're going through this right now.
Well, I think this is a project that this group can help do and actually make an immediate impact.
That they're willing to actually execute.
Yes.
So my question is, we have, Mr. Chairman asked some
Of
questions.
course, yes.
You know, we're seeking funding from the DPW and the Conservation Commission to buy the beach grass culms. Is that been approved? Is that?
It does not. And in fact, when I met with Recreation, Laura said that there's a chance that the beach sticker revolving fund could be used for it. Unfortunately, she's on vacation from October 17th, so I can't resolve to Lynn. But she did mention that that would be an appropriate way for it to go.
So this would happen in the spring?
So we're really trying to make it happen this fall. We also want to do a spring planting, and we'll come back to talk more about that. While there's still time, we have until mid-November to
And you see how much money?
either 1313 or 7.
13.
719.
1,300.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry, 1,315.
Okay. Is there anywhere in the budget for that, Jim?
Well, beach revolving is just placed on mine.
Okay.
Did you
And we
have
don't have to approve that, right? They haven't.
or we have to, they could, or we can instruct them to do. Correct, yes. We can instruct them. Or we could also instruct them to.
So we can find $1,300.
Right.
And that we don't have to worry about it. Yeah. But we endorse the idea, right? Are you looking for endorsement?
I thought that we would need approval. Is it all conservation that needs approval?
Plant the grass, yeah.
So I guess I don't. Next time.
But we'll let you know about it.
Other conservation funds, another source of funding, these money the conservation fund doesn't.
One quick comment
Yeah.
on this. Years ago, I was out there and doing exactly what you're talking about, putting the fence there. And you've got to collaborate with these neighbors because they will be out there directing you. And we also got a lot of pushback from eating up the beach because at high tide, there's not a lot of beach there and a lot of people go to the beach. So even though it only looks like 10 or 12 feet, it's a big deal to the people that go to the beach there. So I think from my perspective, I would suggest you populate the areas that you can right now that are already within the borders, because there's a lot of that needs to be done. And I think working with the neighbors and the people around there in terms of before we expand, it has to be discussed a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Good point.
So what I'm hearing, we're all in agreement that we think beach plan, and Tony, I agree with you. I think I understood your point about why are we combining the two, but the actual folks on the ground to actually do the planting is going to be your committee, other volunteers. It makes sense.
Which, thank you.
Yes.
And let us know what's that.
We should.
My only concern is timing and red tape and making sure we can actually get forward going. And I think you want to leave here knowing we're actually going to do this. So I don't know how the rest of the board feels about.
It's not up to us, it's up to conservation.
Or beach, connection to a beach,
Right.
recreation. Somebody's gonna spend the money.
Right. Ensuring our support somehow.
Yes.
Sure, we can endorse it.
So order the plants and our federal will pay for it.
What?
So just go ahead and order the plants and we'll figure out where the money's gonna come from.
Motion of support. Do that.
Okay.
All right.
But you don't wanna order too many plants if you're gonna push it back a little bit, cause I think Tony's right. That if you take up too much of what is sand available right now, that people like to put their blankets on,
Corey scoped the 10,000 square feet as within the existing development.
Okay.
This is just something on our wish list that we think would be an added benefit and very good cost. So we wanted to bring it up.
So, Tony, I'm sorry, I thought you were gonna say something else?
No, if you go back 2 slides or however many slides where it shows that more of the blue right there. You know, that's currently within the funds area. That all needs to be done. It'll severely help the tide at storms. And I think you can go ahead there. The only thing, Jim, I would say is put a cap on the dollar amounts.
Well, I said 1,300, so.
Okay, I didn't hear that. Great, yeah.
13.
Anyone?
Get to the $13. So, we don't need a motion of our support, we just let everyone know. We all, it seems unanimous, we're all in support of this idea, so
Very much appreciated.
the 1313. All right, so now cleanup stations.
Yes. So, we came to you guys a while back and suggested cleanup baskets, and everybody said, oh, what if they shatter? And I said, yes, okay. So we go out more, and we come up with mesh bags that we hope you will find useful. And so we'd like to install them on the sides of the cleanup stations along with instructional signage. Oh, here's what bags look like and size and how they feel.
And these are there now?
No, that's Photoshop.
Oh, okay, that's what I said.
so what, I'm sorry, what was there?
It's the water safety station. It's the side of it facing the road at both Egypt and mine.
The Eagle Scout built those?
Right, that's what I thought we were talking about.
The potential
And
use,
these
yeah.
you are proposing to put.
On the side of them.
Got it. Nice.
Very good Photoshop, by the way.
Well, bless you. Well, okay.
Just get white and blue, not red and blue. Stay Scituate colors.
It'll be great, guys.
We have to up the budget, Tony, up the budget.
It's a marine warning sign.
White's gotta be cheaper.
Yeah.
That's what I sort of looking at. So, this is what we're proposing. They would be on U-hooks and they would be suspended by carabiners. And it suspends a load of 220 pounds, so these bags should be no challenge. It's simply a matter of people putting them back, and if they're gonna go to the links to do the cleanup, I have to believe they're gonna return the bags properly. So, that's what we're asking permission for, it's been until next year.
Yes.
Yep, absolutely. Mr. Mike Reed and his group, some of the best people in this town.
Yes.
So, here's, that last line, yep, nope, 43, thank you. See the cleanup baskets and things, that's in Cohasset on the left, that's their solution. These two are in Florida, Jupiter and Naples. And, you know, they're all using plastic that can be broken, and hopefully this will be a solution that it wouldn't be installed until next May when the water safety stations return to use.
Great. I think it's a nice first step. I'd love to see it eventually get our beaches to be carry in, carry out.
Yes, that's on our list.
Yeah, but this is a great first step. Yeah. Thank you.
Of course, thank you.
Tony, do you have something? No?
Oh, great job, Kelly. That committee is very, very dedicated to helping our beaches, so keep up the good work.
Thank you, Tony. It's all because of our liaison.
Yeah.
Don't give it that.
Don't go yet. So, okay, this is fabulous. So those are all in.
And I don't wanna be Scrooge, but there's no plan for any sort of logo or anything on these things, are there? Because they will get stolen as souvenirs, so. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
no branding, it's like street signs.
We do, though, have to finish the charge, correct? We have to make sure that.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions about the charge? As presented.
Good job.
A motion to accept the charge.
Move to accept the charge of the beach commission as written.
Second?
All right, and we need a roll call vote.
Yes, Mr. Vignani,
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich,
Yes,
Ms. Curran,
Yes.
Ms. Conlon.
Yes.
it's unanimous.
See?
It's something.
Yeah, you kind of like that.
It's something, one at a time,
Make
you
a
know.
motion,
Oh.
then I'll to approve the beach to protection signs.
Thank you. We're
Oh,
trying.
Good question. Before you go,
Of course, that's all the time.
so the dune protection sign is Jim, do we need
To
a
vote,
motion?
approve.
I just, like I said, I wouldn't put them up until the spring.
Right.
I'm afraid if we go past storm, it's gonna get worse.
But they will go up. All right, so the signage,
Just get us the signs, let us know when they're gonna go.
But I would say that if they do disappear, I loved Karen's idea, get Noah to work with the Scituate Arts Council and get our own kids, because when you look at this, the signage, those are all Cape Cod based elementary schools and their artwork, and wouldn't it be lovely to evolve that into the Scituate art?
Yes.
There was one Western Massachusetts person, but yes.
Yeah. But it's just such a nice idea,
It is, yeah.
so thank you.
Of course, thank you all.
Thank you.
thank you.
Have a wonderful night.
You as well.
All right, you're on to new business. Are looking for a one-day beer and wine license for Mulaney's.
Would you like a motion
Yes.
or is there any discussion?
Is there a discussion? No?
Move that the select board approve a one-day wine and malt license to Mulaney's at 8 Allen Place for a private event on October 22nd, 2022 from 7 p.m. until 11 p.m. and for another private event to be held on October 29th, 2022 from 7 p.m. until 11 p.m.
Seconds.
Second.
By Ms. Conley, any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Mr. Vignani,
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich,
Yes,
Ms. Curran,
Yes.
Ms. Conlon.
Yes.
unanimous. Next, discussion and vote on board and committee appointments, starting with Sister City Capo I think I said that properly. Cape Verde, Capo, well, I was trying to say it in Portuguese.
Oh, wow.
So there's two openings and two
There's two openings.
folks that came in front.
Great candidates.
Does anyone want to speak on?
I thought both of them were lovely.
I agree.
I agree. Are there any other applicants?
There's no other applicants at this time. This would fill the board.
Oh, perfect.
That's great.
I think with these two additional people, I think it's a great board. I can't wait to go to Cape Bird.
They've already held their first meeting and elected officers.
Oh,
Oh, did they? Look at that.
Yes, yep.
How about the site net for both these folks?
Yes.
It's amazing.
Great.
It was like infectious.
It is.
Would you like a motion?
I would love a motion.
Move to appoint Hope Fernandez and Taylor Lawrence to the Sister City Cape Bird Committee for a term of 2 years, or until a successor is named and completion of the Conflict of Interest Law online training program is completed within 30 days.
Second.
And second by Mrs. Conley. Roll call vote.
Mr. Vignani,
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich,
Yes,
Ms. Curran,
Yes.
Ms. Conlon.
Yes.
it's unanimous. Beautification Committee Board, we had Jean Marie.
Which is great. Motion?
Please.
Oh, okay. Move to appoint Jean Marie Volger, hope I said that right, to the Beautification Commission for a term of 2 years, or until a successor is named and completion of the Conflict of Interest Law online training program is completed within 30 days.
Mara, that was my mistake. It should be 3 years. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay. For a term of 3 years.
Thank you.
Motion by Ms. Conley.
Second.
By
As
Ms.
amended.
Conley, as amended. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Mr. Vignani,
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich,
Yes.
Ms. Karen,
Yes.
Ms. Conlon.
Yes.
It's unanimous. We are giving the other two, let's see, Cole Parkway.
We still have to
We're
see
still
people.
two other folks, so we can skip that for now. Hopefully we can get them in front of us.
We also have, if you want to appoint tonight, the assignments of the individuals on the second page for the representatives in the charge. The Situate Harbor Business Association, Coast Guard, Coastal Advisory, Fishing Community, and Coastal Management Officer. The EDC is going to get me a candidate, hopefully by the next meeting, so. If you want to approve these people, so we can get them on the letters.
I think that would behoove us.
One thing, the Coast Guard asked to have two people, just so one could be as a backup to the other. It's a non-voting position,
That's nice, okay,
because they travel a lot.
makes sense.
A motion.
Motion. Move to appoint Bob Warner, Justin Young, Chris Irish, Matt McKinley, Jody Norton, and Corey Miles to the Cole Parkway Redevelopment Committee for a term of 2 years or until successors are named and completion of the Conflict of Interest Law online training program is completed within 30 days.
Second.
All right, second. Conley, roll call vote. No discussion, so roll call vote.
Mr. Vignani,
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich,
Yes,
Ms. Karen,
Yes.
Ms. Conlon.
Yes.
it's unanimous. Further business, any liaison reports?
Yes, I would like to report that the Community Preservation Committee had their annual meeting last night. They're required by statute to have an annual meeting, and they have to post it in a legal notice to let people know about it. They also do other press releases, and it was very thorough, and I appreciate, on behalf of the board, I told them how much we appreciate the work they do. They work very hard. Most applicants have to come in at least 3 times to see them, and they do a lot of work on behalf of the town, so I know I was correct in extending our thanks to them.
Thank you.
They have, at this point, about 11 applications in for the upcoming town meeting, so it'll be another busy season for CPC.
I have all my meetings this week.
Tony, anything or?
No, the beach commission went over their stuff, so we're good.
All right. The Commission on Disabilities, you mentioned before, but October 22nd is the big event. I think we might even mention that later. Where's it gonna be?
Is it the high school?
It is the high school. And it's from 10 to 1, right at the high school gym. It's the accessibility awareness event. It is a wonderful event, and folks from all over the state will be there. DATRA and the Mass Office of Disabilities, there's an allergy group at Perkins Library, so it's for a lot of residents, friends, caregivers. It's a really great event, so again, Saturday, October 22nd, from 10 till 1.
Well, if I can add that it's always nice for people who might not necessarily need these services, but for them to see what kind of services are available, generally speaking, so you don't have to be in need to go and check it out.
Very good
Well
point. Caregiver, exactly.
Friends, relatives.
Any correspondence?
We have, yes, several correspondence, you just read one, which is great, with the Commission on Disability, Accessibility Awareness event. We also have a letter on behalf of the entire Scituate Beach Commission with regards to establishing public bathrooms at all of our beaches. So I know there was some discussion at one of the board meetings, so the Beach Commission is in full support of pursuing that as we move towards that. Then we also have received more grants. We have a grant report, and boy was this small. So let me see what our number is right now. Our Our staff continues to do a stupendous job seeking out additional funds to offset taxpayers' contributions to all the things that we need to get done. So let's see, bear with me.
I'm still scrolling in myself.
Yeah, so scrolling, I'm sorry, I should have been there. We are up to $159,000. Is that the number? Oh, that's all COVID related, which is good. So let's see, we're gonna do this.
Town share $500,000. Your COVID is 160.
Thank you. That's 60. Anyway. Oh, yeah, because the coastal resilience grant award, $2 million.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's what I saw in the newspaper, didn't hear it, but did we get $2 million for North Situate Beach?
I haven't seen the details yet.
It was in the paper.
Yeah, someone told me about that too.
I
haven't
of all places, I
seen
read it in the
anything.
Coastal Mariner, where there's nothing anymore, but there, it got my attention.
There was a grant that Kyle applied for as part of the beach nourishment. So it's $2 million that we could do for beach nourishment.
But it wasn't clear to me whether it was for actual sand or whether it was more permitting.
It's already permitted, it's already designed,
Well,
so.
permitted, if you read the article, it really was not clear, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't see it yet, so I haven't seen the grant announcement, I haven't seen the paperwork, I haven't seen congratulations, you got a grant yet, so until I actually get something in my hands and say, got it, I haven't said anything about it. We did a press release, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So,
Was it the $2 million that's listed?
yes.
Okay.
yeah, we haven't seen it, I haven't seen anything, and
All right, well, we look forward to that announcement.
Just say, look forward to in 2 weeks for that.
so when I did tell Corey, this is gonna go forward, we need a bucket with the actual sand in it, so people can see what the sand's got.
Yes, how big the grains
Let's
are.
learn that.
You know, it was a strange week, because I was down in Minot early in the week, and the beach looked great, the sand hills was great, and all the seaweed was gone. I was up there this morning, and I had never seen as much seaweed on
Then Ian
Minot
flew
as I
by.
saw today.
Yeah.
It was just, so, we'll see, I know Corey was gonna talk to the consultant about what $2 million, what it would look like, what would happen. But I haven't got a prepared about what's going on, but I haven't got the official document yet.
Right. That's it for correspondence. So, do we have approval of meeting minutes from September 19th?
Sure. Move to accept the minutes from the select board meetings of September 19th and 20th, 2022.
Ms. Conner?
Second.
Ms. Conley?
And
Discussion, roll call vote.
Mr. Vignani,
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich,
Yes,
Ms. Curran,
Yes.
Ms. Conlon.
Yes.
unanimous. Move to adjourn and sign documents.
Second. Right?
This is gonna be a record, 9:04 p.m.
I know.
Roll call vote.
Mr. Vignani,
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich,
Yes,
Ms. Curran,
Yes.
Ms. Conlon.
Yes.
unanimous.